Okay guys, so in previous class or previous video we discussed about the types of arches and we proved different formulas. So this video is in continuation to that, and we will try to solve some examples. Now please note that these examples are from your textbook, the structural analysis by R.C. Hibbeler, 8th edition. Okay, now the first example 5.4, which is about the three hinged open spandrel arch bridge like the one shown in the photo. Right, this is the photo, has a parabolic shape. If this arch were to support a uniform load and have a dimensions shown in figure 510a, this is 510 and this is a. So these are the dimensions, right? The total span is 100 feet, center distance is 50 feet, which is the crown. A UDL is applied, which is 500 pound per feet. Show that the arch is subjected only to axial compression at any intermediate point such as point D. So there is a point D which is intermediate between B and C, and it is right in the middle of B and C. That is 25 feet from each of the points. Okay, assume that the load is uniformly transmitted to the arch ribs. So these are the arch ribs, and it says that the load is transferred uniformly. Okay, the total height or the height of the crown is 25 feet, and the equation is given to you, right? Now in solution, this says that here the supports are at the same elevation, support A and support C are at the same elevation. The free body diagram of the entire arch free body diagram and of the part BC, this is part BC, is shown in figure 510b and C. So applying the equation of equilibrium we will have. Now this is your equation B, figure B, right? And your complete arc is shown in this figure. This is your UDL, which is 50 kip. Why 50 kip? Because this was 500 pound per feet, so multiply it with 100 feet, so that will be 50 kips. Okay, so this is your 50 kips load, which is equivalent to your UDL load, and these are your supports, hinge supports at A. So AY and AX are the reactions at support A, and CY and CX are the reactions at support C. This is your crown or the highest point of the arch, which is point B, which is 50 feet from either supports. Now as it says that applying the equations of equilibrium, so for the entire arch, this entire arch, we know that summation of moment about A will be equal to 0 because it is a hinge support. So what we are left with, since this Cx is passing through this point, so it will make no moment. We are left with this Cy and this applied load. So Cy multiplied by perpendicular distance 100 feet minus this 50 multiplied by this perpendicular distance. So from this equation you will get your Cy equals to 25 kips. Okay, now consider the figure C, where arch segment BC is shown. Right, now the horizontal span of BC is 50 feet, so the applied load equivalent to the UDL is 25 kip, and it is applied at the middle, right, which was previously designated as point D. Now in arch segment BC, apply the equilibrium conditions. Summation of moment about point B is equal to 0. This is your internal hinge or the crown, and it is also hinged, so the moments will be 0 at this point. So what we are left with, we are left with Cy, Cx and this applied load. So this applied load 25 kip multiplied by this perpendicular distance 25 feet minus 25 into 25, because it is in clockwise and they have taken anti-clockwise as positive, plus this 25 Cy, which we just got in a previous step, multiply by this perpendicular distance 50 minus Cx, because Cx is also producing a clockwise moment about point B, minus Cx into 25. So from this equation you will get Cx is equal to 25 kips, right? Now we have both Cx and Cy, so summation of f of x is equal to 0, so we can get Bx is equal to 25, because there are only two forces in horizontal direction, Cx and Bx, right? So where our Bx is also 25, which is equal to Cx. Summation of f of y is equal to 0. So how many forces we have in y direction? cy 25 kip and this by. So from this equation we will get by equals to 0. So there is no vertical force at point B. Now a section of the arch taken through point D, where point D is this point which is right in the middle of point B and C, where x is equal to 25 feet from point C. So we were provided with this equation, y is equal to minus 25 x square divided by 50 square. Okay, so putting the value of x, we will get a value of y is shown in figure 510D. Now checking the figure 510D. Okay, this is your 510D. So this is your point D, this is your point B, right? And from B to D your entire length is 25 feet. So multiply this UDL with 25 and your equivalent point load will be 12.5 kip. Okay, this is applied at 12.5 feet at the middle of this segment. Now the slope of the segment at D is, at this point, the slope of the segment will be what? It will be equal to tangent theta, which is equal to dy by dx, and which is equal to, this is our y equation, right? Minus 50 divided by 50 square into x at x is equal to 25. So putting the value, we will get tangent theta is equal to minus 0.5. From here we will get the value of theta is equal to minus 26.6 degrees. So this is your 26.6 degrees downward. Okay, now applying the equations of equilibrium, figure 510D, we have considered this figure and applying the equations of equilibrium. Summation of f of x is equal to 0. So here is your first force in x direction. Now this ND, it will have two components, one the horizontal component and the other will be vertical component. Similarly this VD, it has two components, one horizontal and other vertical. Okay, so if you remember what we discussed in previous lecture or previous video, the F and P, right? So these are actually those F and P, the normal component and the shear component, and the bending moment is of course there. So the minus ND cos theta is in horizontal direction and VD's sin theta will be in horizontal direction. So for f of x we will have this equation, and for f of y we will get this equation. In f of y we have this applied load, the sin component of ND and the cos component of VD here. Okay, and summation of moments at point D is equal to 0. So one is this MD, right? We are taking bending moment at this point equal to 0, so that we don't need to worry about this ND components and VD components. So what we are left with, this applied load and this reaction, horizontal reaction at point B. See, 12.5 which is applied load and 25 which is this reaction at V, and we have their vertical distances and horizontal distance. Okay, so from these equations we will get the value of MD, which is 0 because they both will cancel each other, and solving these two equations for ND and VD we will get the values of ND, which is 28. So here the normal component is 28 and the shear component is 0. Now please keep in mind that shear component at this point is 0, the bending moment at this point is 0. There is only the normal component, which is the axial compression. Okay, and this was our question that proved that their load is only passed through the axial compression in the arch. So see, this axial compression is there, right? Now the important thing that note, if the arch had a different shape, number one thing, if it had a different shape or if the load were non-uniform, two conditions. Okay, then the internal shear and moment would be non-zero. So why the internal shear and moments are 0 in the arch? Because of its shape and because of the load. Also, if a simply supported beam were used to support the distributed loading, it would have to resist a maximum bending moment of 625 kip feet. By comparison, it is more efficient to structurally resist the load in direct compression, although one must consider the possibility of buckling, than to resist the load by a bending moment. So what they are saying, that if you provide a beam instead of this arch, so there will be a huge amount of bending moment in that beam, and you have to resist that bending moment. But in arch there is no bending moment, and there is only this axial compression in the arch, and you just have to worry about this axial compression. So this was the difference between design or the analysis of beam and then that of analysis of arch. So let's continue to the second example. Now this is our next example, example 5.5 from the same book. The 3-hinge tie arch is subjected to the loading shown in figure 511A. This is your 511 figure, and this is its part A. Now determine the force in members CH and CB. Now this is your combination. This is point A, this is point B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and point loads are applied at point F, G, and H. Okay. The dashed member GF of the truss is intended to carry no force. Okay. So your member GF, this is your GF member, and it has intended to carry no force, and you have to determine the force in members CH and CB. So this is your CH and this is your CB. So you have to determine the forces in these two members, right? You are given with the dimensions, for example the horizontal distances of all the points and the vertical distances of all the points. Now this is not your typical parabolic arch, as you can see, and also not subjected to a UDL load. So this is a different case as compared to the previous one. This is your free body diagram, right? At support A, AX and AY, at support E, EY. Okay, now this, please note that this is your hinge condition and this is your roller condition. So this is a determinate arch, and this is not a typical 3-hinged arch. Okay, now coming to the solution. Now it says that the support reactions can be obtained from a free body diagram that I just explained to you in figure B, right? Taking summation of moment about support A equals to 0. Let's get back to that diagram. Here it is, right? So taking moment about this support equals to 0. So you are left with this applied load 15 at distance of 3, 20 at distance of 6, and 15 at a distance of 9, and this EY at a distance of 12. So EY into 12 minus all of them are negative because of the direction. Okay, so from here you will get EY is equal to 25 kilonewton. So you got this. You can find summation of f of x is equal to 0. There is only one force in x direction, that will be equal to 0, and by f of y you have this, you know this one, you have this forces, so you can find EY, which is equal to you can find AY, you already determined EY, so the AY will be equal to 25 kilonewton. So EY is 25, AY is 25, and AX is equal to 0. You have determined all the vertical and horizontal reactions. Okay, now the force components acting at joint C, this is your joint C, can be determined by considering the free body diagram of the left part of the arch. You can consider the left part of the arch from support A to point C. This figure C is representing the free body diagram. First we determine the force. Okay, so taking summation of moment at point C is equal to 0 because it is a hinge, so all the bending moments will be equal to 0 at this point, right? Now there is CY and CX at this point, right? So summation of moment at point C is equal to 0. So what we are left with? We are left with this reaction at A, AY, AX, and these applied loads. So FAE, which is the force in member AE, this is A and this is E. See, So FAE, this one. Okay, so this is your force in member AE, FAE, and this is your perpendicular distance, which is 5. So FAE into 5 minus this 25 into 6, right, plus this 15 into 3. Since this 20 is also passing through this point C, so it will not creating any bending moment. Solving this equation will give us the value of FAE, which is equal to 21 kilonewton. Alright. So after determining FAE, then summation of f of x is equal to 0, and in x direction we have a Cx and this FAE. So we will get the value of Cx is equal to 21 kilonewton. Summation of f of y, we have 25 kilonewton, which was reaction at point A, 15 kilonewton, which is applied load, minus 20 kilonewton plus Cy. Minus 20 kilonewton is also applied load, okay, plus Cy. So we can determine Cx and Cy, which are 21 kilonewton and 10 kilonewton respectively. To obtain the forces in CH and CB, we can use the method of joints as follows. Joint G, figure 511D. See, this is your joint G. At joint G, FGC, FHG, and applied load of 20 kilonewton. And since in the statement it says that the force in GF is 0, so this is 0. Okay. So summation of f of y is equal to 0. So you have two forces in y direction. So FGC will be equal to 20 kilonewton, right? And FHG will be 0. Similarly, joint C, this is your joint C, and this is its free body diagram. The 10 kilonewton is the Cy, the 20 kilonewton is the applied load, and the 21 kilonewton we also determined this force. Okay, so we are left with FCH, and its slope is also given to us, so we can find the angle, and FCB, its slope is also the same, and we can find the angle. Now summation of f of x is equal to 0. So in x direction, the horizontal component of CB and the horizontal component of CH, and this applied this force that we already know, 21 kilonewton. Okay, this is equal to 0. This 21 is, you already know that this is Cx. Okay, so no need to mention. So this is the equation with two unknowns, so we will use another equation, summation of f of y is equal to 0, and the vertical component of FCB and FCH, see, minus 20 kilonewton is downward and 10 kilonewton is upward. So solving these two equations with two unknowns, we will get the values of FCB is equal to 26.9 kilonewton, which is compression, and FCH is equal to 4.75 kilonewton, which is tension. See, one is in compression and other is in tension, right? And the result is positive. So it means that the directions we have assumed are okay. So this was the truss that you solved using the method of arches, because the load was applied like arches, as the load in in trusses, as the load in trusses is always on the joints. So it says that tied arches are sometimes used for bridges. Here the deck is supported by suspenders bar that transmit their load to the arch. The deck is in tension so that it supports the actual thrust or horizontal force at the ends of the arch. Okay, so this was important note for you guys. Now moving to the next example, example number 3, that will be our final example in this lecture. Okay guys, so this is our third example. It says the 3-hinged trussed arch. Okay, 3-hinged trussed arch. So as it is truss, so loads are applied at the joints. You can see J, I, H, G, F, or F, G, H, I, J. Point loads are applied, right? And this is your one hinge, this is your other hinge, and this is your third hinge. Okay. Supports is symmetric loading. The loads are symmetric. Determine the required height H1 of the joints B and D. This is your point B. This is your point D. So it says that determine their heights, right? So that the arch takes a funicular shape. Member HG is intended to carry no force. The member HG, this is your member HG, it has intended to carry no load. Okay, now the height of point C is given 15 feet, and you have to determine the height of point B and D. The horizontal distances are also given. Now it says that for a symmetric loading, the funicular shape for the arch must be parabolic as indicated by the dashed line here. See, 512B. This is your 512B. Why it is called funicular? Because it is balanced about point C in both the directions. So therefore this says that the arch must be parabolic. Okay, just like this dashed line, you can see this dashed line. Okay, here we must find the equation which fits this shape. Okay, so now we have to find the equation that fits this shape with the xy axis having an origin at C. This is your point C, and you are taking the origin at this point C of x and y. The equation is of the form y is equal to minus cx square, which is the equation of parabola. To obtain the constant C, this constant C, we require minus 15 feet. What is minus 15 feet? That is this y is equal to minus C into 20 feet square. What is this 20 feet? This is x. See, this 10 plus 10. So from C to E, the horizontal distance is 20 feet, and the vertical distance of point C is 15. So putting the values, you will get the value of constant C, which is equal to 0.0375 per feet. Okay, therefore YD, now we know this thing, so we can determine the YD as a function of this parabola. YD is equal to this C into x square. So we know the horizontal distance of D, which is 10 feet, and we also know this constant for this parabola. So we can determine the YD, which is minus 3.75 from this line to this line. And as you know that h1 is from bottom or from the base to this point, so just subtract this value from this value, so you will get h1 is equal to 11.25 feet. So this was your answer. Okay, using this value, if the method of joints is now applied to the truss, the results will show that the top chord and the diagonal members will all be zero force members, and the symmetric loading will be supported only by the bottom chord members AB, BC, CD and DE of the truss. Okay, this AB, BC, CD and DE, all these members will support the loads. Okay, if you are using the method of joints, so zero force members, all these above will be zero force members. For example, this one, this one, this one, this one, the load is directly transferred to these members, right? So you have solved the truss in very detail, and you know how to solve it, right? So please go through it and solve the examples by yourself, and make it convenient, and best of luck. Thank you very much.